My business partner told me, "You're not on the paperwork anymore." I smiled and said, "Congrats." Then I opened my email and forwarded one message. By lunch, everyone knew the truth. At 33, I was a woman working as a product operations manager in Minneapolis, MN. Evan Hart, my business partner, was 38, and we had built our company for 4 years. Our stake was 45% equity tied to a 5-year office lease and a $120K credit line. When Evan quietly erased me and painted me as a thief, I chose myself. I didn't start my mornings with affirmations. I started with lists and coffee and a brass key fob. The key fob was shaped like a compass. It hung from the ring Evan gave me when we signed our first office keys. I kept it because I believed in direction. I also kept it because I am sentimental in stupid ways. Our office was in the North Loop, tucked behind Washington Avenue. We leased 2,100 square feet for $49.50 a month. The company was fictional, but the stress was real. We called it Harbor Vale Systems because it sounded sturdy. Harbor Vale made routing software for mid-sized delivery fleets. We were not saving lives, but we solved real problems. I loved clean data, clear owners, and calm meetings. My flaw was that I avoided hard conversations until they grew teeth. Evan loved the pitch. He loved the rooms where people nodded at him. At the start, our partnership was simple. He sold, I built, and we split decisions. We had a rule on paper and in spirit. Any legal change required both of us always. I believed rules mattered because rules were how you respected people. Evan believed rules mattered when he needed them. The first crack appeared at Midtown Global Market. We were eating arepas, and my phone buzzed twice. A recruiter had finally stopped circling and landed. Bright Hearth Logistics wanted me for director-level operations. The offer included $165K salary, a $20K sign-on, and stock options. They wanted me in their uptown office with a flexible schedule. I reread the email in the light by the window. Then I slid my phone across the table. "Look," I said. Evan leaned in and grinned. Then his grin thinned like paper under heat. "That's cute," he said. "It's a real offer," I said. "They're buying a resume," he said. The insult landed sideways, not sharp enough to bleed. Still, it stayed. I should have confronted him then. Instead, I focused on the number. Harbor Vale was paying me $92K plus a promise of later. Bright Hearth offered stability I hadn't had in 2 years. That night I walked across the stone arch bridge. The Mississippi looked wide and indifferent. I told myself I could take the job and keep my shares. I told myself Evan would adjust. 2 days later, at our desk cluster on Hennepin Avenue, I proposed a plan. I'd transition my daily tasks over 6 weeks. We could hire an analyst for $78K in benefits. I'd stay on as a board-level operator nights and weekends. Evan didn't look up from his notebook. He tapped his pen twice. "That would kill us," he said. "It would keep us honest," I said. "We need you full-time," he said. "We need systems," I said. His eyes lifted, bright with something new. It wasn't fear, it was calculation. I felt it, and I hated that I felt it. A local event was coming up, the Twin Cities Startup Expo at the convention center. Booths cost $1,200 and we'd already paid. Evan insisted we show as a united front. I agreed because I didn't want to be the problem. At the expo, he floated from investor to investor. I watched him introduce me as our ops support. It was a small demotion, dressed as a joke. People laughed because laughing is easier than asking. On the drive back down Cedar Avenue, I pressed him. He shrugged like I was difficult. "That's just positioning," he said. "I'm not your assistant," I said. "You're being sensitive," he said. I heard my own flaw breathing. I let it go when I should not have. The next morning, I logged into our shared admin email. We used it for contracts and vendor accounts. A new message sat near the top. The subject line was plain and deadly. Subject: updated cap table and officer list. My stomach tightened. We hadn't updated anything in months. I opened it and scanned the PDF. My name was missing from the officer section. In its place was Evan alone, listed as sole manager. Under ownership, my 45% had become 5%. I stared until the words looked like water. Then I checked the footer. It was stamped with our state filing receipt number. It was filed, not drafted. My breath turned shallow. I reached for my blue accordion folder, the one I kept for important. The folder held every lease page, every bank memo, every contract. It was my comfort object, and I suddenly needed it. I walked into Evan's glass-walled office with the folder against my chest. The brass key fob clinked against my palm. He didn't greet me. He just watched me approach. "You're not on the paperwork anymore," he said. I didn't understand how my face stayed still. Inside, something slammed into the floor. "How did you file without me?" I asked. "You were leaving," he said. "I was negotiating," I said. "You were planning to abandon us," he said. "That's not true," I said. He leaned back and sighed. He looked almost bored. "You don't get to take a big job and keep control here," he said. "I'm not asking for control," I said. "You're asking for leverage," he said. I opened the blue folder and pulled out our operating agreement. My fingers shook, but the paper didn't. "It requires both signatures," I said. "I handled it," he said. "That's not how contracts work," I said. He smiled like I was a child. Then he slid his phone toward me. A group chat message thread was open. It was full of ugly guesses. One investor wrote that I'd been in it for appearances. Another wrote that I'd always planned to drain the IP. My throat burned. The smear wasn't loud, but it was everywhere. "I didn't start that," Evan said. "You didn't stop it," I said. He lifted one shoulder. His second motive surfaced right there. He wanted their money more than he wanted fairness. He wanted to be the only story in the room. I left the office without yelling. I walked to my car, hands numb. At Minnehaha Falls, I sat on a bench and breathed cold air. A runner passed with a stopwatch band on his wrist. I watched him and envied his simple metrics. Time in, time out, no betrayal. I pulled up our email archive on my phone. I searched for any sign of Evan's plan. I found another subject line from 2 weeks earlier. It made my stomach drop again. Subject: Bank signer change request. I hadn't seen it because Evan had filtered the admin inbox. He had built a rule with my name in it. I looked down at the brass compass key fob. It felt heavier than metal should. I didn't cry. I started a checklist. First, I needed to stop being reachable on his terms. Second, I needed to protect my liability. The lease was personally guaranteed by both of us. If Evan wrecked the company, I'd still owe $49.50 a month. The credit line was $120K, and it was tied to my credit too. I would not be collateral for his pride. I drove to a branch of Lakefront Federal near Nicollet Mall. The lobby smelled like carpet and printer toner. I asked to speak to a business banker. A woman named Trish Landon met me in a small office. She had a neat bun and the calm eyes of someone who lived in policy. I liked her instantly. "Tell me what you need," she said. "I need to understand our accounts," I said. Trish pulled up the profile and frowned. Her keyboard clicked in a tight rhythm. "You're no longer an authorized signer," she said. "That's not possible," I said. "The change was submitted," she said. My blue accordion folder sat on my knees. I opened it and slid the operating agreement forward. "Here's the authority clause," I said. Trish read it twice. Then she looked at me like she finally saw me. "We need a fraud review," she said. "I want it," I said. "Also, we should freeze the line," she said. "Please," I said. She handed me forms and a reference number. I wrote it down, slow and clear. The next stop was a coworking lobby called Rivertown Co-work, off Wabasha Street. We rented a small meeting room there sometimes. I booked a room for 2 hours, cost $85. I needed a quiet place to think. I opened my laptop and built a timeline. Not emotions, not accusations, just facts. Every time I saw a suspicious email, I copied the subject line. I pasted each one into a document. Subject: Draft Operating Agreement Final. Subject: Cap Table V6 attached. Subject: Bank Signer Change Request. Subject: Updated Cap Table and Officer List. I printed the list and tucked it into the blue folder. The folder grew thicker and I felt steadier. I called a lawyer recommended by Trish. Her name was Dana Whitmore. Dana's office was near Loring Park in a building with narrow elevators. Her consultation fee was $450. Dana listened without interrupting. She took notes like she was building a wall. I want to be careful, I said. Careful is good, Dana said. I don't want drama, I said. Then we don't do drama, she said. She asked for documents and a clear objective. My objective was simple. Restore my ownership, remove my liability, and stop the defamation. Everything else could fall away. Dana pointed to my printed list of subject lines. This is helpful, she said. It's the only thing I can trust, I said. We'll verify with server records, she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes sharpened. Evan had picked the wrong opponent. Dana drafted a notice to preserve records. It demanded no deletions, no edits, no new filings. She also drafted a letter for the bank. It referenced the fraud review number and the authority clause. Then she asked me the question I didn't want. Do you want to stay in business with him? I stared at the brass key fob on the table. The compass looked dumb in fluorescent light. No, I said. I walked out of Dana's office into crisp air. I didn't feel revenge. I felt clarity. They looked similar at first. Back at the North Loop office, Evan acted as if we were fine. He called a team huddle in the open area. We're tightening roles, he said. He looked at me while he said it. His insult of the day was smoother than before. Some people can't handle commitment, he said. I didn't react. I recorded the meeting in my notes. After, I walked to the break room and poured water. Rico Alvarez, our lead engineer, stepped in. Rico had always been straightforward. He also had a nose for dishonesty. You okay? He asked. I'm managing, I said. Evan's acting weird, he said. He made choices, I said. Rico watched me, then nodded once. He didn't press. That afternoon, Dana emailed me with a plan. She referenced the subject lines in her message. She asked me to forward specific threads. I did from my personal account. I also forwarded one message to an investor group address. Not a rant, not a plea, just a fact. I forwarded the official operating agreement with signatures. I included a short note. Please pause decisions until legal review concludes, I wrote. No blame, no tears, only structure. The consequences started quietly. The next morning, Evan's phone rang twice during stand-up. He tried to joke through it. The jokes cracked. After lunch at a little spot I liked called Juniper and Rye in the warehouse district, I saw his shoulders tighten. My bowl of soup cost $14 and it tasted like I could breathe again. Dana called me during my walk back. Secretary of State confirmed the filing, she said. Can it be challenged? I asked. Yes, she said. How long? I asked. Fast if we move, she said. We moved. Dana filed an objection and request for correction. We also requested certified copies of the documents Evan submitted. The fee was $62, and it felt like buying proof. Evan's second motive revealed itself in those copies. He had attached a consent page with my typed name. It wasn't my signature. It wasn't even close. He'd also used an old scan of my initials from a vendor form. He cut and pasted like it was nothing. I took the copies home and spread them on my kitchen table. The blue accordion folder stayed open like a mouth. My brass key fob sat at the top of the papers. The compass didn't point anywhere. I opened my calendar and realized something else. The job offer deadline was coming. Bright Hearth wanted my answer within 5 days. I had been waiting for Evan to act like a human. He didn't deserve that power. I called the recruiter and accepted. The new salary would cover my rent and my savings goals. It also gave me the freedom to walk. Dana prepared a separation proposal for Harbor Vale. It included a buyout option, a liability release, and a gag clause. Not a hush money clause. A stop saying untrue things clause. She also demanded all contact go through her office. I loved that line. Evan demanded an in-person meeting without lawyers. I refused. He pushed again. Dana suggested a mediation session. I agreed because it was controlled and documented. It would be the only face-to-face left. The mediation took place at Hennepin County's Mediation Center. The room was beige and the chairs squeaked. The mediator, a gray-haired man, laid out rules. The fee was $900 split between us. Evan arrived in a blazer that looked too new. He carried no folder, no notes, just confidence. I brought my blue accordion folder. It made a soft thump when I set it down. Dana sat beside me and opened her own file. Her pen clicked once. Evan looked at the folder and smirked. He tried for another insult. "Still doing your little paperwork hobby?" he asked. "It's not a hobby," Dana said. Evan's smile twitched. He hated being corrected by someone he couldn't dismiss. The mediator asked him to explain his position. Evan spoke fast, like a pitch. "She was leaving," he said. "She was sabotaging morale," he said. "She was already taking our clients," he said. Dana held up one hand, polite and precise. "Show the evidence," she said. Evan blinked. He didn't have any. I slid out the printed email headers from my blue folder. Each page had a subject line highlighted. Dana spoke in short statements. She referenced each subject line like a road map. "Subject, bank signer change request," she said. "Filed without dual authorization." "Subject, updated cap table and officer list," she said. "Filed with fabricated consent." Evan's face lost color. He stared at the pages, then at me. "You're doing this to punish me," he said. "I'm doing this to protect myself," I said. "You're ruining everything," he said. "You changed everything," I said. The mediator asked Evan about the consent page. Evan tried to argue semantics. "I thought I had implied authority," he said. "That's not a thing," Dana said. Evan's voice rose. The mediator reminded him to lower it. Evan's first motive finally slipped out. It wasn't just money. He couldn't stand the idea that I was valued elsewhere. He wanted me smaller so he could feel bigger. He leaned toward me, eyes bright with anger. "You were supposed to stay loyal," he said. "I was loyal," I said. "Then why chase attention?" he asked. "It wasn't attention," I said. "It was stability." Dana asked for a break. In the hallway, she spoke low. "He's cornered," she said. "I don't want to fight," I said. "Then we take the exit," she said. We returned and offered terms. I'd resign as officer, retain my 45% until buyout. Evan would refinance the lease within 60 days. He'd remove my name from the credit line immediately. He'd sign a retraction letter to the investor group. He'd also agree to a non-disparagement clause. Evan scoffed at first. Then Dana placed the certified filing copies in front of him. She didn't threaten. She simply explained outcomes. If we litigated, the forged consent would become a public court record. That wasn't drama, that was process. Evan swallowed. He looked at the table like it might save him. "I can't afford this," he said. "That's why we're settling," Dana said. Evan signed. His hand shook. After I walked outside into late daylight and exhaled, I touched the brass key fob in my pocket. For the first time, it felt like an object again, not a symbol. 2 days later, Lakefront Federal confirmed the line was frozen. The fraud team documented Evan's submission. Trish emailed me a confirmation. I filed it behind the subject line list. Evan tried to call me that night. I didn't answer. Dana sent one reminder. "All contact goes through counsel," she wrote. At Bright Hearth, my new office in Uptown smelled like fresh paint. My badge worked on the first try. They started me on a route optimization project. The team had 12 analysts and a budget of $625,000. My first week was busy in the good way. Meetings had agendas and endings. On my lunch walks near Lake Bde Maka, I felt my shoulders drop. I walked 2 miles each day, no phone in my hand. My first paycheck hit and looked almost unreal. I paid off $18,400 of old student debt. I also opened a separate savings account. I labeled it quiet. Evan's consequences spread without me lifting a finger. The investor group asked for his retraction. The retraction letter was plain. It said the rumors were unfounded and inappropriate. Rico texted me later from the Harbor Vale office. He kept it short. "People are asking questions," he wrote. I didn't reply with glee. I replied with a thumbs up. Evan's clients also started asking about stability. His churn rate climbed. 3 of our contractors quit after delayed payments. One invoice was $3,700 overdue. I heard these details secondhand. I didn't chase them. My life became quieter. I started cooking again, simple meals, no rush. The blue accordion folder moved to a drawer. I kept it because I keep proof. The brass compass key fob stayed on my key ring. I kept it because I like reminders. Months passed in a clean sequence. Bright Hearth gave me a performance bonus of $12K. I put half into savings. I used the other half to fund a small trip north. Not a reinvent myself escape. Just a weekend at a cabin, 140 miles away. On the drive back into the city, I realized something. Peace feels boring until you earn it. Evan tried his return attempt in the only way he knew. He showed up where I couldn't control the room. Bright Hearth hosted a client demo night at a venue on First Avenue. It was catered and polished and loud. I wore a simple blazer and held sparkling water. My badge sat straight on my chest. I was explaining a dashboard to a client rep when I saw him. Evan stood near the back, hands empty. He waited until the demo ended. Then he approached, eyes soft like a costume. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Not here," I said. "I just need a minute," he said. "You can email Dana," I said. He flinched at her name. He tried a different angle. "I miss how we worked," he said. "I don't," I said. "You're really going to be like this?" he asked. "This is my boundary," I said. He looked around as if hoping someone would rescue him. Nobody did. He lowered his voice. His final insult was desperate and sloppy. "You always needed to feel superior," he said. "I needed honesty," I said. Then I walked away. No scene, no tremble. The next week, Dana sent me the final buyout confirmation. Evan had secured a private loan to purchase my shares. My payout was $210,000 after taxes and fees. It wasn't a fantasy windfall. It was an exit price for my sanity. I bought a modest condo near the Wedge neighborhood. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. On move-in day, I placed the blue accordion folder in the top cabinet. The brass key fob went on the new front door key. I stood in the entryway and listened. No coworker voices, no manipulative laughs. Near the end of the process, I kept 3 lines pinned inside the folder. They reminded me that truth has a paper trail. Email subject: updated cap table and officer list, 04/17/2025. Email subject: bank signer change request, 04/28/2025. Invoice: Hennepin County mediation fee split, 05/06/2025. A full year after that first stomach drop moment, my life looked different. I led a team of 9 and shipped a major upgrade on schedule. My salary had increased to $182K. I hit $100K in savings, the quiet kind. I ran into Trish at Nicollet Mall by accident. I thanked her and bought her a coffee. She smiled and waved it off. "You did the hard part," she said. That evening, an email arrived from Evan. It was the first message I'd seen from him in months. His subject line was simple. "Subject, apology, I'm sorry for what I did," he wrote. "I was scared and jealous. I told myself you would leave anyway. I was wrong. I hope you're doing well." I stared at the words for a long moment. Then I typed 1 line and kept it clean. "Thank you for the apology. I wish you well." I hit send and closed the laptop. No shaking hands, no spiral. I walked to my front door and touched the brass compass key fob. It pointed nowhere, and that was fine. The lesson I keep is simple: trust is earned in details. My boundary rule is permanent. Any legal change happens in writing, with counsel if needed. If I could do one thing differently, I'd address disrespect the first time it shows up. I don't chase closure from people who trade in excuses. I build a life so steady that betrayal cannot rent space in it. That's the kind of revenge that never needs an audience.